Good evening. This is Wednesday, October 1st, 34 days until the 2008 presidential election. That vote right now perhaps hinging on tonight's vote on Capitol Hill. And in our fifth story in the countdown, according to the latest polling out of the battleground states, Senator Obama with a clear edge heading into the final weeks of the campaign. In the new Quinnipiac University survey, Obama leading by 8 in Florida, by 8 in Ohio, the state that decided the 2004 presidential election, and by 15 in Pennsylvania. Obama with a 50% or better majority in all 3 states, and in all 3 exceeding the margin of error of 3.4. Nationally, Obama increasing his lead in a CBS News poll out tonight. The 9-point gap among registered voters marking an increase of 4 percentage points in the Democrats' lead since last week, also outside that margin of error. Meanwhile, the Democrat, his running mate, and his rival all at the Capitol, where lawmakers gathered to vote on the latest version of the Bailout bill. Before returning from the campaign trail, Senator Obama today in Wisconsin urging his colleagues to pass the legislation.
To the Democrats and Republicans who oppose this plan, I say that step up to the plate, do what's right for the country, even if it's not popular, because the time to act is now.
Senator McCain having warned of another Great Depression this past Monday if the House had not passed the bailout bill by this past Monday. Today warning of more gloom and doom should the Senate version of what he is now calling a rescue plan fail. The Republican nominee also speaking of imaginary others, that is, politicians other than himself, who have aimed to exploit the economic crisis.
Of course, there are always some who think first of their own interests, who calculate their own advantage instead of rushing to the aid of their country. But in the case of this bill, I'm confident there are enough people of goodwill in both parties to see America through this crisis. And when the last vote is cast, we can be grateful to all of them, Democrats and Republicans alike, for helping to solve the crisis instead of merely exploiting it.
Senator McCain having said on Monday that he believes our leaders belong in the arena when our country faces a challenge, not on the road in a campaign. Tonight's Republican nominee returning to the Capitol to sit on the sidelines. His advisors saying they do not expect Senator McCain to speak on the Senate floor tonight, rather only to release a paper statement. Way to take a stand. Senator Obama taking to the floor of the Senate shortly before 5 p.m. Eastern, telling his colleagues the current bailout bill may not be the perfect plan, but right now it is the only plan they have got.
It is conceivable. It's possible that if we did nothing, everything would turn out okay. There's a possibility that that's true. And there's no doubt that there may be other plans out there that, had we had 2 or 3 or 6 months to develop, might be even more refined and might serve our purposes better. But we don't have that kind of time. And we can't afford to take a risk that the economy of the United States of America, and as a consequence the worldwide economy, could be plunged into a very, very deep hole.
Time now to call in our own Richard Wolffe, also, of course, senior White House correspondent for Newsweek magazine. Richard, good evening.
Good evening, Keith.
The polls first. The Obama campaign said today that they seemed more than a bit rosier than reality. Is that a spin? I mean, the Time magazine poll has him ahead by 8 in Pennsylvania, not by 15. Or could the internal numbers be painting a different picture of this race than the public ones do?
Well, I think the internal numbers inside the Obama campaign have shown much more level footing throughout this. They weren't as bad as Democrats thought they were before, and they're not as good as some Democrats think they are right now. And of course, Democrats should remember that 4 years ago, there were some big spikes in the polls for John Kerry around this time of year. He was 8 points behind the first debate. And then he evened it up between the debates before falling back to 8 points behind at the end of those debates. So these numbers are going to be in flux. We're seeing state-by-state movements that are really quite exceptional. And yes, there are big events going on. Obviously, the debate can reshape perceptions. But I think it's probably a lot more level here. The trend is clear, though. It is heading in Obama's direction for now.
Quinnipiac and CBS drew distinctions between their pre- and post-debate numbers, but might it be more accurate to say that the economy has propelled support towards Obama in the last week, and the debate just sort of happened to fall in the middle of this extraordinary economic story?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best analysis here. It's very hard to pick apart the debate and the economy here because they are two big factors in shaping how people are deciding as they focus in on their vote, how they're deciding what they think of these two candidates. So whether you're viewing a candidate under the glare of the TV cameras or viewing them under the glare of the economic crisis, voters are still narrowing down their choices and focusing in a way that you would expect at this time. So very hard to separate the two, but really the test of leadership is actually more about the economy than it is about the debate.
Were we to expect that both Senator McCain and Senator Obama would vote for that bailout package tonight?
Yes, indeed. And look at how their rhetoric has changed. Both candidates really toning down the partisan attack, the personal attack. It's still there, of course, but speaking much more in a consensus way about the need for this package to go forward. So, yes, we expect them both to vote yes.
And yet, Senator McCain was holding out until after the vote for a statement, and not even apparently appearing before the media, just a paper statement. Is he waiting to see how all this plays out before he decides to tell us whether he supported it or was opposed to it?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the tactic is here. You know, I can understand Joe Biden doing that. Of course, Joe Biden's got his mind on the debate. He's also no doubt thinking about his son, who's going to be deployed to Iraq very shortly. But John McCain, having seen Obama deliver a floor speech, it's surprising that he's not going in front of the cameras, or at least going on the Senate floor and trying to claim a piece of this for himself.
Richard Wolffe of MSNBC and Newsweek. As always, Richard, great thanks.
Thank you, Keith.